Thank you, Romy, for joining us, and thank you, Jen, for being here. So I will do a bit of introductions myself. I'm Larry. I'm a consultant for ChatC Group. And on the other line, we have Jen, who is the CEO of ChatC Group, and Romy, who is a lawyer.
Because we've been talking to a lot of great high performers, and I'm very excited to talk to Romy. So I'm very interested to see and hear Romy's story just from a career standpoint and also just her life experience. So thank you so much for being here, Romy. I want to kind of talk a little bit about this whole side hustle thing, because you are like the 8th person that I've spoken to in the past few months that have this side hustle.
Going in, it started to pick up some momentum about three or 4 years ago. And so I asked my employer if I could, spend less time in the office and spend less time. I actually was reading that Tim Ferriss book, 4 Hour Workweek.
Yeah.
Do you know that book? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So good. And they say, try and create these systems and not be in the office and be more productive outside of work than you are in the office. Improve yourself. And I was like, my employer's never going to go for this. They've been around 140 years. There's a lot of face time's important. I'll say that.
Yes.
And so I thought it's not going to work. And I kind of wrote that off. But then you have to ask to get the answer that you want. And so I asked, and initially they said no. And so I struggled along and tried to, make it work. And eventually it got to a point where I felt like I needed to part ways with my company. And when I brought that in to my boss, he said, okay, well, we can work with you. So here I am.
No, I think that's amazing, Romy. I don't think you understand maybe how unique and special you are from that standpoint, because a lot of people are so afraid to go and speak with their employers because they're afraid, is my employment in jeopardy if I decide to bring this up to my manager? Will they look at me different because they think that I can't spend the amount of time, again, FaceTime that's required. So, but the fact that you didn't relent and you kind of persisted with it, and then just kind of said, look, guys, this is how it's going to be, and they worked in with you, and I think that's progress. I hope more organizations are open to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It took the confidence to be willing to step away to be able to do that. And so I think that's where, a lot of people might not, you have to be willing to bet on yourself and be okay with that. So I had to build up to get there. But ultimately my employer was supportive, and we were able to negotiate basically a part-time job, which ended up working out just across the board. And then with COVID and remote work, it just amplified that. So
for sure,
it's really good. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So how do you, I guess, just as a person, how do you balance all of these balls that you have kind of up in the air?
Nothing's balanced. Everything's crazy. That's what it feels like anyway.
I can relate. I'm sure Larry was
Yeah.
It's hard.
All right.
Yeah, you just make it happen.
Stress and managing stress is my key priority right now. Because when you're in it, you're in it, right? And then when you're out, you just have a different perspective. And so I always look to kind of take some time off to do that. I'm not sure.
That's great. That's so important. You have to create that quiet space to allow the creativity to happen. So I completely identify with that.
Yeah.
I feel like my approach. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying that's what you have to do.
I was gonna say my approach changes. I love what you just said, and it comes to me. I read so many books, and whenever there's a great idea in the book, I'm like, okay, I got to do that. Like with that 4 Hour Workweek, or with Rich Dad Poor Dad, or with whatever, Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, or any of these. When I first started getting involved in the side hustle, I was reading a book called The 12-Week Year, where you kind of condense your year of goals and accomplishments into a 12-week quarter. And so it's basically the gist of the book is most people perform on an annualized basis. And so you do all your performance reviews and financials and everything. And like December 31st, everyone's hustling and like trying to get it done. So what if you did that every quarter, right? How much more productive would you be? So I started doing that, and I had a little, I had an accountability buddy, and we call each other every week and make sure we were, keeping up with these things. And so it really helped to keep me moving on, turning the side hustle into the main hustle. And so now, I'm reading all kinds of books, and it is every time there's a great idea like that, I just try to implement it.
That's, I think, continuous learning and that kind of open-minded and curious, I guess that curiosity to kind of always, I guess, accept that there's new ways of doing things and other people do things better than you do. And so why not adopt that, because you can better yourself. Romy, a really good book, if you are interested and you like tips and stuff by the sounds of it, and you like Tim Ferriss, is the Tools of the Titans.
Oh yeah.
Tim Ferriss. I had the audible version of it, and whenever I walk my dog, again, efficiency.
Yes.
you gotta move and listen at the same time. But I loved that. There's just a plethora of just unbelievable individuals that he interviewed and got their hacks amongst like health wise and money wise and career wise, and I've read it once fully, and it's funny. I'm definitely gonna have to read it again because it's just
so much good information.
Yeah, you almost need because I have Audible, but it's almost like I need the actual physical one because I would like to kind of like old school and go through it. Bust out my old highlighters and my colored pens like university days and go for it.
Sure. That's how you remember things and implement them and make sure you actually, there you go.
Still doing it.
I'm doing this.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss is another one of those guys who moved, to Texas, and took advantage of all of the good stuff happening. I listen to his podcast all the time.
Oh, do you?
I love that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, his approach to life is very interesting, and it's good that he just shares it and inspires a lot of other people just